Hey everybody, it's Sherry Dutter from Tier 1 Interventions. Today, John Lee is going to uncover some new material. She didn't even tell me what this time. So, take it away, John Lee, and let's get started.
Mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. We are going to unpack exactly what that means in our first segment here of our live session today. Success in reading achievement is going to improve. See, we're implementing that, but a RIMP has never been some kind of research project. So I need you to hear what I'm saying. And the reason I'm saying this is you can't use the excuse, I can't use the novel model as our structure and instruction delivery system because it's not research based. So I'm eliminating that excuse for you because I'm proving other things that we've been required to do that have not been through the research model. Now, research based doesn't mean the actual thing that we're doing has been through an experiment already before. Research-based means we take results of other research, of other models, of other things, of other chunks, and apply it to the new model. And that's exactly what we've done in the novel model. So it is research-based. It is all research. It is all science. And it is the science of mathematics, which is different. It's a different structure than the science of reading. So let me back up. I don't want to keep going on and on about that, but I had to make those examples. As you're having conversations as districts, those are all of the excuses that you are going to come up with why you're not going to use this model. So let's back up. The overarching essential question, what story are you telling, K-12? What story are you telling for your school year? What part of the story is your grade level supposed to be telling mathematically? And the first step to answering these questions is at a district level, deciding what is the ultimate goal of success you're going to use. Now, just for the purpose of our examples today, I am going to use Algebra 1 as the ultimate indicator of school district math story success, because that's the class that I'm teaching this year, that I am teacher of record of, that I have been experimenting with, if you want to call it that way. And at the end of the year, at the end of course exam, we're going to look and see what my results are. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I have put myself out there this year. I am being very vulnerable. I may not get the results I desire. And I'll come on and tell you that. But guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make some tweaks. I'm going to try it again next year. That's what action research is. That's what research-based, that's how we get research-based products, is by experimenting. And that's exactly what I'm doing deliberately and intentionally. And I'm using Algebra 1 as my ultimate achievement goal for my district as I'm helping. So yesterday I met with grade 2 teachers for our planning meeting. And this is ultimate goal, Algebra 1 success. So in every planning meeting with second grade teachers, we talk about the part of the story that they have to tell with their content standards that are going to lead to this ultimate goal of achievement. So what does Algebra 1 success look like in second grade? And that's some other steps of the model, but I give you that example to say why this ultimate goal is so important to establish first. So for our purposes today, we're using Algebra 1. So the second step, once we say, okay, Algebra 1, the second step that we need to define which in the novel model, this is where that word chunks comes in. The essential chunks. Now, this is also multiple choice because the novel model has researched for the last 20 years what some of these essential chunks are. And we have that in spreadsheets. We have that in structures. We have that in our mastery and exposure maps. We have that actually, basically, all of tier 1 interventions, level 1, the mastery math method. Hear this if you're listening to this podcast. All of tier 1 interventions, the mastery math method, the course, the self-study course that each individual teacher in your district needs to take. So let me say that again. Tier 1 interventions, mastery math method, is a self-study course that every teacher in your district needs to take. That is a training course with over 100 contact hours that will show you each of the essential chunks, what they look like. It gives you the resources for implementing them with your students. It gives you the slide decks. It gives you the worksheets. It gives you the adaptations of the worksheets. It gives you the video training session recorded for every single essential chunk. So this is delivered in the novel model through tier 1 interventions level 1, mastery math method, which is a self-study course that your district needs to purchase for every individual math teacher at every grade level. Not only math teacher, but intervention specialist, principal, curriculum developer, special service provider, occupational therapist, speech therapist, every stakeholder that is supporting math education in your district must have their own username and password to tier 1 interventions level 1 mastery math method self-study course. When the individual, this is why it's individually based, but everybody in your district needs it of that stakeholder type. When you individually complete the mastery math method level 1, tier 1 interventions level 1, you will get a certificate. It's all digital, so we track your project progress on the back end. We also have some up level that you can get live coaching in that self-study course. So we don't just leave you on your own if you want live coaching. But when you complete that as an individual person, you will get a certificate for over 100 contact hours that you can turn into your district to transition those to CEUs. And so there's lots of benefits for this. Not only is it going to completely transform math achievement in your school district, you individually, as a person that needs to license renew or move up on the pay scale, is going to generate over 100 contact hours that can be converted by your district to CEUs. So the second step after your district has defined their ultimate goal of success is to define the essential chunks that are going to lead to, in our example, Algebra 1. What I'm telling you is we've already defined a lot of those for you. And those chunks can be delivered every single year in less than 20 days. Let me say that again. These essential chunks can be delivered every single school year in less than 20 days. In less than 20 days. So when you're like, yeah, but we have these textbooks. Yeah, but we have this. Yeah, but we have that. Okay, you don't have time for needle moving, brain-based, achievement scaling, 20 days of mathematics. Then that's just sabotage. You're just sabotaging student learning at this point. Now, can these be extended to more days? Absolutely, for sure. But the reason we minimize the time for it is so that you as a district, you as a teacher, still have the autonomy and flexibility to add your own flavor and spices. So the first step is, what is your goal? The second step is defining the essential chunks. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this right now, because if you've listened to any of the other Tier 1 Interventions podcasts, or you've been to Saturday Math, or you have interacted with Sherry or I in any capacity, you know what some of those chunks are. Matter of fact, put them on school right now. Put them on school for today's session in the comments on school. Put them on school right now. What are some of the essential chunks? You guys know these if you're here live. Now, as well as putting them on school, unmute and tell me what you're putting.
Locker problem.
Locker problem. Yep. Give us some more. Let's just start listing them. You as the listener, you're not going to know what these things are. That's why your kids aren't achieving. Okay? So it's not important right now to know what these are. It's important to know the names and have the list of them. Then we tell
Number
you how
as
to figure
shape.
them. Say it
I'm
again.
sorry. Number as shape.
Number as shape. What else? Someone, Janet?
Fractions.
Fractions. I like all my F's. Fractions, factors, function. Fractions, factors, function. Fractions, factors, function. Say that 18 times fast. No, don't really. What else?
Are they one chunk or those three separate chunks?
They are three separate chunks.
Okay.
I like my F words separated.
I'd consider the 120 chart.
120 chart. Boom. What else?
Jesse and Kay.
Jesse and Kay.
Making rectangles.
Making rectangles. So you have an idea here. There are three other chunks that are essential, and there are already podcasts that we've recorded designing these three chunks. And Sherry, let's remind each other that when this what I'm saying right now, when this part of the podcast releases, that maybe we put in the comments or the show notes the connection to the other podcasts. And I'll say it now, and then somewhere, or you can comment to us if you're listening to this podcast, you can make a comment right now on, if you don't see the connecting podcast. But three of the other essentials are the three math rules that never expire. These are also three different chunks. These are three math rules that never expire, and the podcasts teach you. The podcasts are the training for these three rules. These three rules are what we call transfer strategies, and they are inspired by a couple of articles that were put out by some other authors years ago, which were 12 math rules that never expire, or 12, sorry, I said that totally wrong. 12 math rules that expire and 13 math rules that expire. So there were some other authors that put out two different articles about math rules that do expire. The podcast talks about those. For example, one of the rules that expires that we teach in elementary is when you subtract, you get a smaller number. That expires. That's not always true. But we ground this into kids' heads, and then we create the misconceptions later on in 7th grade when we're subtracting negative numbers. So the other three chunks that are essential that we've already created podcasts for, so you have free training, just go back to these podcasts. The other three are math rules that never expire. These are transferable strategies that we can pound into heads. Number one, subtraction is distance. Number two, division is counting. And number three, multiplication is rectangle. Subtraction is distance, division is counting, multiplication is rectangle. We teach operations all wrong, and we teach them in the wrong order. we start with addition, and we should be starting with division in kindergarten. I'm not going to explain that. I'm going to leave you hanging because there are answers to that on those other podcast episodes. The point here is the second step to creating high math achievement through this novel model of telling a story and designing your structure and developing your instructional facilitation in your classroom. The first step, my goal is Algebra 1 for our district. The second step is defining all of the essential chunks. And we've given you some examples of those right now. And the essential chunks can be delivered and exposed in less than 20 days. Not mastered. See, when you read chapter 1 of a novel, you don't know the whole story yet. But you know most of the parts of the story, and in each chapter later, you find out more about what was developed in chapter 1. Step number 3. Step number 3, we are finally ready to map it. And I've already kind of pre-mentioned this. At Minds on Math, we structure our math year, one school year, in what we call seasons. And this is exactly how we need to map the school year. So from August to June, from August or May, let's say from August to May, in a typical traditional pacing guide, scope and sequence, we do typical traditional, if you're following a textbook, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in your textbook. But we've already said that this does not develop memory and retention of content. This is not how the brain learns, learning one thing at a time. We have to learn in chunks with everything delivered all of the time and up level it in every season. But not everything, only the essentials. Maybe it's not every part of our curriculum. Like, for example, probability or statistics or data analysis or some of those pieces of our curriculum may not be as essential. Subtraction is actually not as essential as division. So not all standards are created equal. In another episode of mine in Saturday Math, and you can request this from us in the comments of this podcast, I talk about the 5 fails of math instruction. The 5 fails of math instruction. And maybe we should put this on the Tier 1 Interventions podcast because I've taught on this in a lot of different places, but maybe we just make a podcast episode of it here. The 5 fails of math instruction, one of them is teaching one thing at a time. Can't do it. That's the way a traditional textbook is set up. And that's not getting us achievement. Another fail of math instruction is creating all standards equal. They're not. Some standards have more leverage and more essential impact than others. And in Tier 1 interventions and in the novel model, we tell you what those essentials are. Another fail, I'm just going to put this one out there because it's fun. Another fail of math instruction is finishing, answering, and solving everything by the end of the class period. Ouch. That's a fail. Finishing, solving, and answering every question and problem by the end of the class period. Or by the end of the week. That's a fail. You get the idea. These are targeting the things that we are doing that we think we're doing right, but it's what's causing our failure in math achievement. So in the novel model, the way that we structure our book, our math year, is in seasons. Season 1 is what we call first 15 days.
John Lee, I want to close out Tier 1 Interventions podcast. And that is, if you are listening to this podcast and you are thinking, how do I get involved? You want to head over to your show notes and click on the link. We are offering you to come to a session like this, where you get all 2.5 hours at one shot for $47.
This was segment 3 of this series. We look forward to you joining us next week for segment 4. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe and comment on our podcast.